friends, Sinead with VPRQ here with some exciting news. Town meeting day elections for mayor, city council, and more will be using ranked choice voting, and all Burlington voters get to participate. Unfamiliar with ranked choice voting? Keep watching or visit the link below. Ranked choice voting is a simple way to let voters rank candidates in order of preference. First, second, third, and so on. If your vote can't help your first choice win, it counts to your second choice instead. Here's how it works. If one candidate gets over 50% of everyone's first choice votes, they win and the election is over. However, if no candidate reaches a majority, the candidate with the fewest first choice votes is eliminated, and their supporters' votes will count towards their second choice. This process continues until one candidate reaches over 50% of the vote. Ranked choice voting is an easy way to give voters more voice, more choice, and makes for a stronger democracy. Learn more about ranked choice or try it out for yourself at betterballotvermont.org/BTV2024.
This is a conversation.
I'm looking at this one. Sorry.
It's okay.
Hello and welcome to Town Meeting coverage of Town Meeting Day 2024. This program is part of a series of forums we are bringing you in advance of Town Meeting Day on Tuesday, March 5th. Town Meeting Day TV hosts forums with all candidates and covers questions you will see on your ballot, introducing you to community decision makers and connecting you with issues that shape your local community. You can find all these forums at cctv.org/2024 or on Town TV YouTube channel, as well as we auto-generate captions where available. On tonight's program, we will hear from Eugene Bergman. I hope I said your name right.
Gene.
Councillor Gene Bergman.
Gene Bergman, please.
Gene Bergman, councillor for Ward 2. Ward 2, rather.
Ward 2, yep.
And you're also you're the incumbent and you're running for the same position again, and contested, I believe. And we're glad to have you here. We've prepared a list of questions for the candidate, and we'll have 90 seconds to answer these questions. And if you are tuning live, we also welcome your questions at 802-862-3966. If you are calling in, we do our best to prioritize your questions, though we will screen calls to ensure that questions are not repeated. We ask you that you share your name, town you live in, and that your question be directed at the candidates. So in this case, we have one candidate and not just one candidate in particular, which I think that is repetitive on my part. So let's get started with 1 minute opening statement from our councillor for Ward 2. Councillor, take it away.
Thank you, Romeo. Thank you for doing this. Thank you to Channel 17. I've been a supporter for a very long time. Public access television is essential to a thriving democracy. 2 years ago, I ran for office because I wanted to share my experience as a city attorney for 20 years in the city of Burlington, as a former city councilor under Bernie Sanders, and as an active community member. And I really believed that the city was off course on safety, on affordability, on climate, and on democratic engagement. And I'm running again because, quite frankly, I believe that progress that we've made is just not been enough. And I still have the energy to do the work. I'm energized by working with younger climate and justice activists in particular. And I think that I can continue to serve the city, to share, to mentor, and to learn. There's a lot that we've got to do, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor. And we're going to ask our first question, and this will be a city finances question.
Yeah.
Do you support the proposed tax increase for the city budget, yes or no, and what experience do you bring to the overall financial management of the city?
Great. So the answer is yes to the question about the public safety tax, and it's important that we make it clear that this is for public safety and that it would authorize up to 3 cents. And it doesn't mean that they will get charged, but it means that you can raise the rate for police and fire services up to 3 cents. The reason is because for the last 2 years that I've been on the council, I have supported and I continue to support rebuilding the department, but I also support all of the bigger public safety, community safety initiatives related to mental health, related to drug addiction, and you put all those together and it costs a lot of money. Inflation, we did a new contract for the police union and the fire union. We have hiring bonuses. So there's a lot that's going to be paid for. Much of that it was paid for in the past, in the last 2 years, by federal funds. So if people want to maintain public safety, then we need to have at least this part of the revenues brought into the city coffers. And there's still going to be a major budget gap of about $6 million that we need to be able to fill through other ways. And I have been focused very much on alternatives to the property tax that are based on ability to pay, and I'll continue to do that. And what I bring, just to close this, because I'm sure I'm over the 90 seconds, is, I was a department head for 2 periods where I had to do budgets for the city of Burlington because I was the code enforcement director for 2 10-month periods, and they were part of the budget process. I have been a city councilor. Now this will be my 8th year as a city councilor, and I was the city attorney, so I have a real understanding of the way that our city works in particular. And I mean, there's a lot.
Right. Well, thank you. And this also brings back to the same within realm, school budget. So the Burlington School District administrators have proposed $119 million, $0.6 million as it were, school budget, resulting in tax rate increase of about 13.97%. Do you support this budget? Why and why not? Again,
The answer is yes. I'm not happy that we are raising taxes or proposing to raise taxes as significantly. But the fact of the matter is that a huge percentage of this tax increase is driven by the need to pay the $170 million in bonds to do the new high school. So this community, and I supported that. My kids went to Burlington High School, both of them. This community supported rebuilding a high school that was outdated and then was poison. Well, you know, like, you got to pay. So, you know, now that this is the first year that the bonding is coming due to be paid. So a huge section of that. Another section of this tax, of the budget, relates to, and the tax increase for the schools, relate to what's called the common level of appraisal. And the fact is that house prices, property values are skyrocketing. And that means that even though we had a reappraisal just a few years ago, they're not now at fair market value. So a huge amount of this proposed tax increase is going to also go to that. And the third reason is because the alternative is to slash like 70 teachers, to slash all sorts of programs. It's insane. And the whole, you can see in the state legislatures debate that's happening right now, today, it's been happening all week and the weeks before, about dealing with the education legislation because there's major dysfunction at the state level. And even if we were to make cuts, we would not have significant reductions in the taxes that people are going to be asked for. So it makes absolutely no sense to not support this budget in my mind.
Thank you, Councillor. We're going to move on to direct democracy. The City of Burlington City Council recently decided against putting 2 proposed questions on this town meeting day ballot. One on police oversight and another calling for apartheid-free community. Do you support the council's decision to prevent these questions from reaching this ballot for this town meeting day? When is direct democracy an appropriate method of decision making?
Sure.
Based on this question?
Sure. two questions there. There are actually three questions that were kept from the voters, and I did not support that action at all. In fact, I was a sponsor of the resolutions to put them on the ballot, and I think it was an insult to the voters, and I think it was an insult and an attack on democracy itself, and I said so in the debates. So that's clear about that. We've got a process of petitions that we have had and used in this town for 40, 50 years. I've been a participant in that, and it's been very meaningful. So part of direct democracy is making sure that that voters have an opportunity to tell elected officials what's important to them. And we have done that. This flies right in the face of that. Other towns in the state of Vermont actually can adopt ordinances, so the laws of the city, by votes of their residents. They can petition for ordinances. We don't have that because it is we're a big city, we've got a charter, and that gives the city council the right and authority to do that. I happen to have supported Prop 0 last year, which narrowly lost, which would have allowed voters to have that level of direct democracy. It was not a perfect proposal, but I believe that in Vermont, you were talking early on about this being a relatively small city, I think maybe before the cameras rolled, one of the beauties of Burlington is that we're small enough to be able to interact with each other and to build community and to figure out what needs to happen. And I want to maximize that. So I'm appalled that the Democrats on the council voted, to stop people from being able to vote. The last one was on the carbon taxes, on climate change, a very important change that we needed to our ordinance and to allow voters to authorize us to look farther than what we did.
Thank you, Councillor. So we're going to move on to addiction and opioid crisis, which is becoming prevalent in our city. We do differ from other candidates in your proposed, where do you differ from other candidates in your proposed approach to opioid crisis? Where do you differ specifically? I don't know if I'm asking the right way.
Yeah, no, I got you.
What are the most important initiatives the city can undertake to address the opioid crisis?
I actually think that there is broad consensus, and it's around dealing with this. I think there is broad consensus among the candidates, not unanimity. I was at Wards 2 and 3 NPA where there was not unanimity, but there's broad consensus around there being harm prevention centers. The safe injection sites is another way that people are talking about that, about getting social workers out into the community and addressing things. There was broad support for the fire department's rapid response team that was stood up very quickly. And there has been strong support for a special unit in our public safety system. Right now it's supposed to be housed in the police department called the CARES program. We authorized on the council, and I supported having, there are 3 positions in the budget right now that have not been filled at all. So all of those initiatives are ones that I think we should be engaged in, as well as mental health issues, and other social workers, because it's not just drugs that people are having. Those are symptoms of disease and other problems. But I believe that there is actually really broad support for the most part for all of those things.
Thank you, Councillor. And this goes into the next question, into public safety more than anything else, policing. What does effective policing look like here in our city, Burlington, Vermont? Should the council have the authority to discipline police officers?
Okay. Let's do the second one first.
Okay.
I actually think that the city council is poorly situated to be the decider of discipline. We're a political body, and I have been in the council. I have been the council's attorney. I have also been a prosecuting attorney in front of the council, and they are, it's very difficult for the council itself to act like judges, what we call in the law the quasi-judicial function. We have it. We just did it last night in terms of the Board of Abatement, but it's very difficult. So no, I don't believe that. I do believe, and I support community oversight with a board that would be in charge of at least the most serious of the offenses. There was a police proposal that was defeated last year. I supported that. There was a proposal that has been blocked from going to the voters that I supported, even though it didn't go nearly as far as I wanted to do. So those are the ways that I would look to deal with it. In my mind, community-based policing is absolutely essential, but it's not just sworn armed officers that we need. So I look at it as community safety, actually. So police form a very critical component of that. But so do the community support officers that do civil enforcement. So are the urban park rangers that are out there in the parks. So are the mental health workers that we've got, the street workers. So when I look at public safety and I look at our police force, I look at it comprehensively. And I actually think that we've got pretty much consensus on that as well. I don't know how thick it is.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, unfortunately, I know so much, and I've been involved in this that getting me to do 90 seconds on this is going to be hard. But I'm trying.
Right. Okay. We're going to move on to quickly racial justice. The city declared racism a public health emergency in 2020. What will you do as a city councilor and as an incumbent city councilor who's seeking re-election to address systemic racism in our city, or at City Hall in this case, and the city across the city in general?
So I am a supporter of the Racial Equity and Inclusion and Belonging Office. We need to continue that commitment. I am a supporter of diversity and equity and inclusion in the hiring for the city. And in terms of, you have a public health emergency, which means that brown and black folk are disproportionately hurt by systemic racism. So that means that access to decent, affordable housing and the ability to have enough wealth to be able to know that you're going to feed your kids, that you're going to be able to go to the doctor, all of that stuff. So when I look at how to deal with systemic racism, key is to make sure that we have programs that are going to assist brown and black folk from to get housing, owning homes, very important, access to affordable housing like inclusionary zoning housing and safe housing. There's work that needs to be done in the in business development as well. So I would look forward to, we've got some business development and loan programs through that office. They need to continue to be promoted. And I could go on, but we're...
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I don't know if we can make these other questions, but I will go through it nonetheless. Connecting with constituencies, which I think is incredibly important for direct democracy. As a candidate and an elected official, how do you gather input and balance differing perspectives from your constituency in your ward and around the city, of course? And how do you ensure that you're hearing from a wide range of perspectives?
So I'm knocking on doors, even though I'm not opposed by anybody.
Including me?
You're in Ward 8, I believe. So
6, actually.
You're in Ward 6.
I'm not running that anymore.
There you go. But if you were in Ward 2, and you know, I'm trying to knock on lots of doors, and so that's a way. And you know, folks, I say, what is the question I ask people? What's the most important thing on your mind? And I had somebody tell me, an old white guy, about my age, who said to me, I don't know that you want to know. And I said, you know, I didn't ask you to not hear what you had to say. So that's one way. I answer my telephone, which is kind of crazy. So people call me up. I answer emails. People let me know, and I get a lot of them. I try to engage in the Front Porch Forum and just be around. So I feel pretty good about the constituent work that I'm doing.
Perfect. I hope I can. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully we get to ask you the other questions in the near future. But thank you for tuning in to Town Meeting TV's ongoing coverage of local candidates, budgets, and ballot items. You can find this and many forums like it at cctv.org/2024 or on Town TV Meeting YouTube channel. And you can, of course, tune in our live election results show after the ballot has been cast on March 5th. Also, contact your local clerk to find out how you can obtain a ballot item, as well as to register to vote here in Vermont. And thank you for watching. And again, don't forget to vote on March 5th on Town Meeting Day. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.